Discovered, how covering a sister's shift led to an amazing connection with a heartwarming CEO dad. The smell of brewed coffee and freshly baked pies filled the air at Mabel's diner, where the faded red vinyl booths seemed to keep secrets of the countless lives that spun within. Sarah, a 30-year-old waitress, had a worn-out smile plastered on her face, trying to sell the joy of the diner while juggling the weight of her single motherhood. Every bill seemed to multiply, and with her sister needing help caring for her sick child, Sarah took on an extra shift, hoping for a few extra dollars to stave off the impending doom of unpaid bills. Then came the morning rush. The bell over the door jingled non-stop, and the familiar faces of regulars mixed with frantic newcomers. Sarah was on her feet, moving like a well-oiled machine. But in an instant, disaster struck. Coffee splashed onto a patron's crisp white shirt. Panic flashed in her eyes as she looked up to meet the gaze of Jack, a middle-aged CEO best known for his firm's cold, cutthroat reputation. But instead of the anger she expected, he leaned in, a warm smile breaking the tension. "It's no trouble at all," he said, his voice soothing like a gentle summer breeze. That split moment stuck with Sarah, confounding her with a glimpse of kindness she hadn't experienced in a long time. As Jack wiped away the coffee with an almost charming grace, Sarah felt a flutter and unfamiliar spark amid her monotonous day-to-day life filled with worry and exhaustion. Over the following shifts, they exchanged pleasantries and laughter, the diner their haven. Sarah told him about her spirited 7-year-old daughter, Lily, and Jack spoke of board meetings that felt more like lonely battlefield reports instead of exciting challenges. They were two lives intertwined in unexpected harmony. But just as Sarah's heart began to thaw, the world outside the diner threatened to engulf her. Whispers of layoffs floated through the air like a lingering fog, reminding her of the constant worry that shadowed her steps. The diner, once a bubbling sanctuary, grew heavy with uncertainty, as every face mirrored her own anxieties. Sarah faced a moral dilemma, a choice between the burgeoning friendship with Jack who brought her hope, and the nagging fear of financial insecurity that hovered like a dark cloud. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As the diner buzzed quietly amidst the news of layoffs, Sarah's heart ached. Dreams of stability and hope crumbled as she witnessed the weight on Jack's shoulders, realizing that the corporate world was more like a fragile glass wall, cracking under pressure. Each encounter with Jack felt more profound, rippling with untapped potential. But escalating fears left her torn. Loyalty carved its place amidst her heartache, casting shadows over her hopes. Now at a threshold riddled with tough choices, Sarah felt the walls of her world closing in, confronting her with the essence of survival. Would she cling to the flickering flame of a friendship that stretched beyond her small life, or would practicality drown out the whispers of her heart? As her thoughts spiraled, an unexpected circumstance loomed on the horizon, leaving both Sarah and Jack on the brink of a choice that might change everything. The next morning at Mabel's diner, the atmosphere felt heavier. The usual clatter of coffee cups and sizzling bacon was accompanied by hushed conversations. As customers entered for breakfast, the undertones of fear and uncertainty loomed like dark clouds. Sarah wiped down a booth, her mind racing as she tried to tune out the murmurs of the impending layoffs. All she could think about was Lily and the smile on her daughter's face when they made pancakes together on weekends. She couldn't bear the idea of letting her down. What if the diner closed? What if Jack, the surprising light amid her daily chaos, left too? She felt a tightening in her chest. Jack walked in, looking weary but still maintaining that gentle demeanor she had come to admire. Today, he wore a plaid shirt, a stark contrast to his usual professional attire. She noticed the way he dragged his feet slightly as he approached the counter, the weight of the world evident in his tired eyes. "Coffee, Please, he said, trying for a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Coming right up, she replied, forcing a lightness into her voice while internally panicking. She poured the coffee and added a fresh slice of pie, a little surprise she hoped would lift his mood. Thanks for being so nice, Sarah, he said, glancing down at the pie. You have no idea how much I needed this today. Her heart swelled, but as she watched him take a bite, worry crashed back over her. What was the point of sharing moments like these if everything around them was crumbling? Suddenly, Jack set down his fork and looked directly at her. Let us talk, he said, his tone shifting from light-hearted to serious. There's something I need to share. The gravity of his words pulled her closer, and she felt a flutter of anxiety. What could he possibly have to say? Did it involve the layoffs? Was he leaving the diner behind like she feared? Just then, as the door swung open with an unwelcome jingle, Mr. Henderson, the diner's gruff, long-time owner walked in. His face was drawn, and the conversation in the diner hushed further. Sarah's stomach sank. Something was off. Hate to interrupt, but you all need to gather round, he announced, his voice gravelly. I just heard from corporate. As he spoke, Sarah's pulse quickened. She felt Jack's warm presence beside her, both a comfort and a reminder of what was at stake. The heavy silence wrapped around them like a fog, and every eye in the diner turned toward Mr. Henderson. This diner is facing tough times. We might have to make some cuts, he continued, his words slicing through Sarah's thoughts like glass. The fear was now palpable, dragging her down. Jack's hand brushed against hers lightly, a silent reassurance amid the brewing storm. Sarah looked at him, and for the first time, she felt something stir deep within her, an aching hope juxtaposed against a deep-seated fear of loss. Would Jack be one of those cuts? As anxiety filled the diner, Sarah turned fully to Jack, needing to hear him speak. What if she began, her voice barely a whisper? The weight of uncertainty loomed between them, but she needed to know if their connection could survive the fallout. Before she could finish her thought, Jack took a breath and met her gaze. The moment hung suspended in time, and Sarah realized that her next words might determine everything. Would she step into the unknown with him, or pull back, scared of the fallout of their growing bond? I believe in fighting for what matters, Jack said softly, his voice steady despite the chaos. In that instant, Sarah understood they both stood on the precipice of change. But as the gravity of their decisions grew heavier, an unexpected visitor entered the diner. Lily, with her bright red backpack and an innocent smile that brought light to the darkened room. The door swung wide, and with it came new possibilities. Would Lily's arrival shift everything? Lily skipped into Mabel's diner, her backpack bouncing against her tiny frame. The weariness that hung over Sarah suddenly lifted, if only just. The moment her daughter entered, it felt like the sun peeking through dark clouds. Lily's laughter, bright and carefree, broke through the thick tension in the air, wrapping around everyone present like a warm hug. Mom! Look! I got a new drawing pad! Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as she searched through her bag. Sarah couldn't help but smile, her heart swelling with love and a touch of relief. Wow! That's wonderful, sweetheart, she replied, kneeling down to meet Lily's excited gaze. The innocence in her daughter's voice calmed the turbulent thoughts racing in her mind. Jack watched this exchange with a small smile. There was something so genuine in the way Sarah interacted with Lily, a tenderness that radiated warmth even in this uncertain moment. It made him realize how deeply woven their lives had become, whether they acknowledged it or not. Hey, Lily, why don't you come sit with us? He suggested, the charm in his voice rousing the little girl's attention. Okay. Lily chirped, scrambling into the booth across from them. She set her pad down and began flipping through pages of drawings, her face lighting up as she spoke about each one with fervor. Jack listened intently, his earlier worries momentarily forgotten as he watched her passion illuminate the diner. Yet, as Sarah watched the two of them bond, thoughts of fear crept back in. What if everything was about to change? Would she have to take Lily away from this place where her friendships and joy thrived? Her thoughts were broken as Jack turned to her, his expression serious. "Sarah, about what I wanted to say earlier," but before he could finish, Mr. Henderson cleared his throat again, this time more forcefully. "Listen up, folks. I know things are tense right now, but we need to pull together. We've survived tough times before. We'll get through this." His voice held a steady authority, yet Sarah sensed a crack beneath the surface of his usual bravado. Lily's eyes widened as she looked from her mom to Jack and back to Mr. Henderson. "Are we keeping the diner, Mr. Henderson? I love it here." Mr. Henderson offered a small smile, the softness in his eyes revealing a glimpse of the man behind the gruff exterior. "We're going to try our best, kiddo. It wouldn't be the same without you around here, making everyone smile." Jack leaned forward, his expression earnest. "You've got to know, we're all in this together, right? Whatever happens, we face it as a team." Sarah felt the warmth in his words settle like a weightless blanket around her heart, a shared determination igniting between them. Maybe they could fight against the uncertainty, not just for themselves but for each other and for Lily. As the diner buzzed with mixed feelings, she caught Jack's eye and for a second, hope bloomed fiercely. There was something special between them, and perhaps if they dared to hold on, they could weather any storm. But then, the sound of an incoming phone call broke through the moment. Mr. Henderson's face paled as he glanced down, and a sharp breath slid past his lips. "Corporate calling," he muttered, the atmosphere shifting once again. Sarah exchanged worried glances with Jack, her heart racing. Would this call change everything? What dire news could they possibly bring? Lily, sensing the shift in energy, clung to her drawing pad tightly, a furrow of concern appearing on her young brow. As hope wrestled with anxiety, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was just beginning. Would the bonds they were building last, even in the face of impending challenges? The diner's collective breath held, waiting for the truth to be revealed. Mr. Henderson's hand trembled slightly as he answered the call, his expression shifting from tense to grim. The chatter in the diner faded into a worried hush. All eyes were on him, curiosity mingling with dread. Sarah's heart raced as she exchanged a silent glance with Jack. She could feel a knot tightening in her stomach. "Yeah, hello." Mr. Henderson's voice, usually steady as granite, wavered. He listened intently, his brow furrowing deeper. "I understand, yes, I'll keep you updated." The moment his finger pressed the end call button, he sighed heavily and rubbed his temples. "Looks like the corporate office is planning to make some cuts," he finally said, the news spilling out like a stone dropped in water. A ripple of gasps echoed through the diner. Lily looked up, wide-eyed, her innocence untouched but clearly confused. "What does that mean, Mr. Henderson?" she asked. Deep down, Sarah's voice echoed the same question, but she forced a reassuring smile for her daughter. "It's okay, sweet pea. We'll figure it out." Mr. Henderson shook his head slowly, a weariness settling in his features. "It could mean layoffs, or worse. They're evaluating each location, and we're not looking good." Panic held the diner in its grip. Conversations picked up, whispers darting between familiar faces. The camaraderie that once felt unshakable was eclipsed by uncertainty. Sarah could see it in every wrinkle, every word halting mid-sentence. Jack leaned closer. "What can we do to help?" His voice was a steady anchor amidst the turmoil. Everyone nodded in agreement, and Mr. Henderson seemed taken aback by the sudden show of unity. "I appreciate it," he said, his voice low. "But truth is, it might not be enough. They want numbers, profits. If our sales don't pick up, I might have to let go of staff." A lump formed in Sarah's throat. This place, this haven, was more than just a diner to them. It was a sanctuary where bonds were formed, where laughter echoed, and where Lily had created countless memories. "How soon?" Sarah blurted out, the fear spilling over. "They'll be making decisions by the end of the week," Mr. Henderson answered, his eyes darting around the room. We need to rally together. For Lily, for us, we can't let this place fall apart. In that moment, heartbeats synchronized, a collective determination replaced the despair. Jack's hand found Sarah's, giving it a reassuring squeeze. They were all in this together, as he had said. The prospect of loss sharpened their sense of unity. Lily, unperturbed by the adult concerns, chimed in, "Can we draw pictures to make people happy? Like a surprise art show?" She beamed with an infectious enthusiasm, trying to uplift the heavy atmosphere. Mr. Henderson's expression softened, and for a moment, all he saw was a child's simplicity in the face of overwhelming challenges. "That's a great idea, Lily. But let's make it bigger than that. Let's make Mabel's Diner a community project. We pull together and host a benefit night." Eager chatter began to flow as the idea sparked hope among the diners. Families nodded, and plans started forming in hushed but excited tones. Jack traded glances with Sarah, the fire of determination igniting anew in their eyes. They could do this together. Sarah felt it, a sense of unity that glowed brightly amidst the uncertainty. As they start to brainstorm ideas for the event, Sarah felt a swell of excitement but couldn't shake the dread of what would happen if they failed. Lily's small voice cut through her thoughts, "Can we draw Mr. Henderson as a superhero?" Laughter erupted around the table at the absurdity, and for the first time since the call, Sarah felt a flicker of hope emerge. But as they continued to plan and laugh, an unexpected figure entered the diner, casting a long shadow over their newfound light. Vesting hope in this man was the last thing anyone expected, yet there he stood, the CEO himself, ready to make his presence known. What would this mean for their fight to save the diner? The door swung open slowly, and a cool draft swept through the diner, carrying with it an air of uncertainty. The man who stepped inside was impeccably dressed, a stark contrast to the homey atmosphere of Mabel's diner. He wore an expensive suit that seemed to drown out the warmth of the room, his face calm but unreadable. Murmurs flitted among the patrons like startled birds. Mr. Henderson's expression darkened as he made eye contact with the newcomer, his fists clenched slightly at his sides. "What is he doing here?" he muttered under his breath, his voice barely audible above the growing tension. "Is that?" Sarah whispered to Jack, her heart racing again, not from fear but from an unexpected curiosity. "Yeah," Jack replied, a hint of defiance in his voice. "That's Greg Thompson, the CEO." Greg surveyed the diner, his gaze sweeping over the scattered tables, mom-and-pop meetings, families chatting, laughter mingling with the clinking of silverware. He paused, taking in the drawing supplies Lily had spread across their usual table. The room fell silent, every eye trained on him, whispering speculation filling the air. "Good evening, folks," Greg began, his voice projecting into the stillness. "I came to see how Mabel's diner was holding up." "What do you want?" Mr. Henderson interrupted, crossing his arms tightly. "We want to sit quietly and let you run this place into the ground." Greg held up a hand, a gesture of calm. "I'm not here to fight. I came to listen. I understand the corporate decisions are hard, but I'd like to know how we can make this right. There's potential in community." He looked directly at the diners, "and this diner means a lot to all of you." The air was thick with skepticism, but as Greg spoke, a few nodded hesitantly. "You can start by not tearing us apart," barked an older woman from the back, her voice tremulous but strong. "Absolutely," he replied, sincerity etched in his features. "That's why I organized this operation. It's about improving, not shutting down." His eyes softened as he shifted focus back to Mr. Henderson. "I know change is hard, but what if we focused on community engagement? We can have the benefit night you've been considering. It could draw in more customers, get more families invested." A ripple of conversation erupted, but Sarah could see doubt lurking on Mr. Henderson's face. "And what happens after that, Greg? You say community, but your actions don't match your words." Greg took a deep breath, his gaze steady. "I know I haven't been present, and for that, I apologize. I'll do everything in my power to ensure Mabel's Diner isn't just a number but a vital part of its neighborhood. Lily, who had been drawing quietly in the corner, piped up with innocent courage, "Can you help us draw more pictures for the surprise art show?" Her wide eyes were hopeful, and a few chuckles started to break the tension. Greg laughed softly, the tension in the room loosening just a bit. "Of course, I'd love to see those pictures. But I'm not just here to observe. I want to help." It was a bold move, and as unexpected as it felt, Sarah saw pieces of doubt crumble. Could this man, who seemed so far removed from their world, actually have a heart? The conversations buzzed again, fueled by the unexpected turn this evening had taken. Ideas flowed freely, some diners even chimed in about how they could better promote the diner's history or host themed nights. Hope began to intertwine with their plans. But just as excitement surged, Greg's phone buzzed, drawing his attention. He stepped away, leaving the atmosphere slightly charged. Everyone looked around, sense of anticipation hanging in the air. "Let's see if he actually means it," Jack murmured, his skepticism returning. What would Greg reveal when he returned? Would he truly commit to their fight, or was this just a temporary facade? As they pondered the possibilities, Sarah felt a flicker of something more profound than hope. Was it trust? But would the promise of change hold, or would reality crush their dreams once more? The heavy silence settled over the diner like a thick blanket, all eyes momentarily fixed on Greg as he stepped away. The incessant buzz of conversation exchanged hopeful glances, excitement bubbling just beneath the surface. Mr. Henderson sighed, leaning back against his chair, his expression still wary. "I don't trust him, Sarah. You saw how he walked in, like he owned the place. It feels like all those corporate types showing up when they see a profit in the cards." "I know, but what if he's different?" Sarah replied, her heart racing at the thought. "I mean, he could be genuine. That art show, what if it actually happens?" Jack looked at her, skepticism fading into a faint smile. "You always find the silver lining, don't you? But talk is cheap. I want to see some action." From across the room, Lily, still clutching her colored pencils, leaned over to her father. "Daddy, do you think he'll really help us?" Her eyes sparkled with a mix of innocence and hope, a combination that tugged at Sarah's heart. Mr. Henderson looked at his daughter, and for a moment, uncertainty flickered across his face. "I don't know, honey. You know how adults can be. Mixed messages and all that." His words were harsh, but just underneath, the familiar warmth of fatherly love shone through. Just then, Greg returned. He was sliding his phone into his pocket and looking more resolute than before. "Sorry about that," he said, the flush of his earlier demeanor replaced with urgency. "That was my partner from the charity organization I mentioned. We can move forward with the benefit night if you're all on board." Mabel's diner erupted into an orchestra of voices, excitement weaving through the air. One after another, ideas volleyed back and forth, a community bake-off, local artists exhibiting their work, live music nights that would get families dancing and mingling. "This could really bring people together," Sarah said, unable to suppress her enthusiasm. Mr. Henderson, still cautious, finally met Greg's gaze. "You have a lot to prove, Thompson. You say you want to help, let's see if you follow through. If you back out like others have, we'll be ready." Greg nodded, his demeanor steady. "I understand that. Talk is just the first step. I'll personally oversee the details and ensure everything goes according to plan." As the diners rallied more thoughts, including specific roles and responsibilities, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of camaraderie growing among them. It was palpable in the air, a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. "Lily," Sarah called out. "How about creating a mural for the art show? We could spotlight the stories of our diners and their roots. Your artwork could tell their stories." Lily's eyes lit up like stars. "I want to make it colorful. With lots of hearts." Greg smiled, warmth filling his voice. That's a beautiful idea, Lily. Let us make this mural the centerpiece of the event. Can you really? Will you be there to help? Her small voice questioned with a mix of optimism and uncertainty. Absolutely. Greg exclaimed. But amid the excitement, a flicker of discomfort crossed his face. It was a brief, unguarded moment, like a shadow pulling back the curtain. The night marched on, filled with a flurry of ideas and newfound enthusiasm. Yet, just as they began to revel in this unexpected alliance, Sarah noticed Greg slip his phone back out again. Something seemed to change in his posture. Hold on, everyone, Greg said, his face now serious. I have a situation to attend to that may affect our plans. The exhilaration that had ignited their meeting shifted, turning back to anxious glances. Sarah's heart raced. What could this mean for their budding collaboration? Would the commitment they had just formed slip away as quickly as it had arrived? As Greg stepped outside, the diner fell silent again, each person caught in their own web of concerns. Hope lingered, but uncertainty began to creep back in, leaving everyone wondering what lay on the other side of that door. Would the promise of a better future slip through their fingers, or would they fight for it? Together, demonstrating that sometimes, even in moments of doubt, community could thrive against the odds. The doors of Mabel's diner swung closed behind Greg with a soft thud, a stark reminder of the tension that had abruptly filled the space. The air, tinged with the scent of frying bacon and freshly brewed coffee, felt thicker now, almost suffocating. Sarah exchanged worried glances with Jack, whose brow furrowed deeper with each passing second. What situation could he possibly be dealing with? Jack muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. Maybe it's just a work thing, Sarah suggested, but her voice lacked conviction. She could feel her heart pounding, the way it thumped in her chest when anticipation and anxiety intertwined. Mr. Henderson leaned forward, a frown etched on his face. You can't trust these types. I've seen it happen too often. He probably has other projects lined up, and we're just another notch on his belt. Sarah shook her head slowly. No, there is something more here. He seemed genuine, didn't he? This could be our chance. Across the room, Lily was doodling furiously, her colorful pencils creating vibrant patterns on the paper. She, unaffected by the tension, was lost in her own world. Watching her, Sarah felt a warmth bubbling inside. It was the very essence of hope. If Lily believed in the project, then didn't that mean something? But just then, the diner's phone rang, slicing through the silence. Mr. Henderson glanced at it warily, as if expecting some misguided telemarketer on the line. However, he picked up the receiver. Hello. Yes, this is Mr. Henderson. Oh, I see. His expression changed as he listened, a mixture of shock and recognition washing over his face. What is it? Sarah asked, instinctively moving closer. He gently placed the receiver down, the unease now palpable. It was the bank. They're calling a meeting about the loan. They want an update by tomorrow. A collective gasp echoed around the diner. Sarah's stomach dropped, and she felt the weight of their aspirations suddenly pressing down on her. This is bad. Jack exclaimed, his hand gripping the edge of the table. How are we supposed to pull off this benefit if we're about to lose everything? It's not gone yet, Sarah insisted, a flicker of determination igniting. We just need to show them that this event can turn things around. I know you want to believe in him, Mr. Henderson said, his voice softer now, almost pleading. But what if Greg's not the one to save us? Just then, the door swung back open and Greg stepped inside, his face pale but resolute. I got the call, he said, his voice steady despite the urgency in it. My partner Andrew has fallen ill, and now I need to take over more responsibilities. But I promise, I won't let any of you down. The hopeful faces turned to him, searching for reassurance. We need you now more than ever, Sarah replied, her eyes glistening with sincerity. If we are going to make this work, we need to come together. You, me, all of us. Greg nodded, a weight of determination replaced the earlier discomfort on his face. Then let us put our plans into overdrive. I will personally handle everything. But I need your help too, everyone's help. Can we rally together? Lily's excitement bubbled back up, and she clapped her hands. Yes. I can start the mural tonight. The tension around the diner began to ebb, replaced by a current of renewed energy. But as ideas flew about the room, Sarah couldn't shake the gnawing worry in her gut. What if this wasn't just a project? What if they were way over their heads? As laughter and chatter filled the air again, Greg stepped aside to call someone on his phone. Just as he dialed, Sarah caught a glimpse of his face, a flash of something dark clouding his eyes, a flicker that felt like a secret. Would they discover the truth about Greg's past before it was too late, or would they blindly leap into this opportunity, opening a door to deeper fears and unforeseen challenges? As the chatter filled Mabel's diner, the buzz of determination resonated through the small space. Plates clattered and laughter sparked between the tables, but Sarah's heart felt heavy, the gnawing worry refusing to let go. She watched Greg, standing slightly apart from the group, talking earnestly on his phone. What if he's not who he seems? She whispered to Jack, who was leaning back in his chair, arms crossed. Jack's eyes darted toward Greg, who glanced back for a moment, catching them staring. He seems sincere enough. But that doesn't mean he's telling the whole truth. Just then, Mr. Henderson stood up, his chair scraping across the floor. We need a plan. If the bank wants an update tomorrow, we can't leave anything to chance. We need to hit them with our best pitch. Our passion has to shine. We should start with the event details, Sarah suggested. She felt the flutter of hope, igniting a spark in her voice. What if we emphasize the community aspect? This isn't just about saving the diner, it's about bringing joy back to our town. What about the mural? Lily piped up, her eyes wide with excitement. We can do it in a way that expresses everything we stand for. I can sketch something that embodies our visions. That's brilliant. Greg's voice suddenly cut through the din, pulling everyone's attention back. He finished his call and approached the table, his demeanor calm but focused. Lily, that's a great idea. A mural could capture the essence of our mission perfectly. But we also need to bring numbers to the table. An event that engages our locals is what will ultimately win over the bank. Jack started scribbling ideas on a napkin. We can have local artists showcasing their work, a charity auction, maybe food tastings featuring the local diner specialties. We promote community pride while raising funds. Right. Greg nodded vigorously. And I can reach out to local influencers to help boost our visibility. As they brainstormed, Sarah felt pockets of strength emerge. Little by little, the diner's atmosphere shifted away from unease towards excitement. This was what they needed, a plan. But hidden under the surface of that excitement lurked the questions Sarah had yet to voice. What part of Greg's life had he been so secretive about? As the team decided on roles, Greg turned to her, his expression earnest. You're taking the lead on the community outreach, right, Sarah? I trust your instincts. Yeah, of course, she replied, even as doubts flickered through her mind. She had always been a planner, but being a leader, that was new. The weight of expectations pressed on her. Lily's cheerful interruption snapped Sarah back. I want to do something special for the mural. Can we paint it in a way that shows everything we love about this town? Yes, Greg replied, the shading of worry still in his eyes. When they discussed the timeline, Greg's phone buzzed again. Frowning, he glanced at the screen and stepped away, his voice lowering. I need to take this, he said, a hint of urgency edging into his tone. Sarah stole a glance at Mr. Henderson, who looked just as puzzled as she felt. The conversations around them murmured, but Sarah's mind honed in on Greg. What was it that had him spinning on the phone? Lily's munching on her fries broke her concentration. Sarah, are you okay? Yes, Sarah said, forcing a smile. But was she really? The anticipation clung to the air. The plan was promising, but so was the danger looming on the edge of their progress. Just then, Greg hung up and approached them, though hesitation creased his brow. "I need to speak with you all about something important. It's not just about the event." Sarah's heart raced. What now? What uncertainty had just slipped back into the conversation? The uncertainty bounced in the atmosphere like an electric charge, pulsing in tandem with her thudding heartbeat. What secret did Greg hold that he was now ready to share? As the air crackled with unsaid words, she held her breath, waiting for the truth to spill out. Would it tear them apart or bring them closer together? Before Greg could continue, the chatter of the diner faded into the background. Sarah felt as if the entire world had stopped spinning, leaving only the weight of Greg's gaze, heavy and intense. Around the table, everyone seemed to hold their breath too, leaning in closer. "Whatever it is, we can handle it," Jack said, his voice steady but laced with curiosity. Greg swallowed hard. I didn't want to bring this up until after the event was planned, but there's something you all should know about me." His fingers rubbed against the edge of the table nervously. A wave of concern washed through Sarah. She wanted to know who this man really was, this stranger playing a pivotal role in their family diner's future. "What is going on, Greg?" Her heart quickened, a mix of anxiety and anticipation swirling in her chest. He eyed each one of them, his expression tightening. "I'm not just some guy who wants to help you save the diner. My name isn't even Greg." The words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Sarah felt a chill creep down her spine. "What do you mean?" "I'm here under false pretenses." He gazed at the table, avoiding their eyes. I'm really here because I have a vested interest in Mabel's diner. My father owns the bank that's threatening to pull funding." Silence enveloped them. The clamor of the diner faded into a distant murmur as the team processed his words. A mix of disbelief and anger bubbled up within Sarah. "So you've been using us?" "No. It's not like that." Greg shot back, urgency tinging his voice. "I wanted to help you. I believed in your dream for this place. I thought if I undertook the project from the inside, I could somehow convince my father to reconsider his stance." "By lying to us?" Jack fumed. "Everything we've planned is built on trust. Do you think we can just overlook that?" Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes. She had let herself believe in him, in their shared vision. "How do you expect us to move forward now?" "I never meant to deceive you," Greg implored, his voice raw with emotion. I thought maybe if I immersed myself in your effort, if I cared about this place like you do, he would see the value in it too." His gaze met hers, pleading. "I'm so sorry. I realize now I should have come clean." The reality of the situation hit like a tidal wave. Her heart raced, torn between anger and a flicker of understanding for the man standing before her. He wasn't just some corporate figure, he was a person trying to navigate a complicated family legacy. "You're asking a lot of us," Sarah finally said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Do you really want to help? Or are you just trying to prove something?" Desperation flashed across his face. "I genuinely want to help. I cannot change my family, but I can try to be different. I just need you to give me a chance." The tension in the air felt suffocating, stretching thin like a tightrope. For a brief moment, Sarah saw his sincerity. But with so much at stake, could she trust him again? "Guys," Lily chimed in, her eyes wide with uncertainty, "maybe we should hear him out. If he knows what the bank wants, maybe he can help us salvage this." "And if he is lying?" Jack countered, frustration crackling in his tone. Sarah took a deep breath, weighing their options. She needed clarity amidst the chaos. Was this a moment to walk away or a chance to reshape their future? "Please, let us sit and talk," Greg urged, his voice almost breaking. "I will tell you everything. As they exchanged glances, Sarah's heart fluttered with hope, mingling with doubt. Should they trust him again? Could a plan still be forged from this situation twisted by deceit? An uncomfortable silence settled, stretching out like the unknown ahead of them. "Okay, let us hear what you have to say," Sarah finally said, her voice strong though her heart pounded against her ribs. But would this decision lead them closer together or unravel what little trust they had left? The diner buzzed around them, yet all Sarah could hear was the echo of uncertainty about what lay ahead. As uncertainty hung thick in the air, the realization that all their hopes rested on one man's honesty weighed heavily on Sarah. She'd been through tough times before, worn down by worry and filled with doubt. But this was different. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about Lily, about the community they'd forged at Mabel's diner, and about Jack, the unexpected confidant who brought joy back to her routine. "Greg," she finally said, her heart pounding, "if we're going to do this, you need to lay everything on the table. What do you know? How can your family help us? And why should we trust you?" The diner, which had once been filled with laughter and hope, fell silent as Greg shifted uneasily. "The bank, they're looking at metrics, profit margins. They see Mabel's as a place that's barely making ends meet. But here's the thing." His voice dropped, urgency tinging his words. "If I can show them that you all can rally the community, prove Mabel's is a valuable asset, I believe I can convince my father to release some funding." A murmur swept through the diner, disbelief mingling with cautious hope. Jack crossed his arms, still skeptical. "And if you can't? What then?" "If I can't, I'm afraid they'll have no choice but to cut the diner loose." The sincerity of Greg's gaze held Sarah captive. "But that's why we need to act fast. If we can set up the benefit night and show the community's support, it could turn the tides in our favor." Lily, who had been quietly listening, piped in with childlike optimism, "Then we can show them how much fun we have here. We can have games, and everyone can help paint the mural. It'll be the best party." "Exactly," Greg said, the corner of his mouth lifting in a tentative smile. "A joyful event showcasing what Mabel's means to all of us. You hold the power in this community, it could change the narrative." A wave of purpose washed over Sarah. Beneath the shadows of fear and doubt, there was something wonderfully infectious about Lily's intuitive energy. She felt it course through her. This was their chance. Jack finally uncrossed his arms, a glimmer of determination breaking through his skepticism. "All right, if we're going to do this, we need everyone on board. No more secrets." The diner buzzed to life again, the spirit of collaboration pervading every conversation. As they brainstormed and divided tasks, Sarah could feel this flicker of unity, a sense of something beautiful emerging from the ashes of uncertainty. Greg stepped up, not just as a businessman, but as someone willing to stand with them. Hours flowed like a rushing river. Ideas darted across each table, laughter punctuated the intense discussions, and the clanking of plates felt energizing rather than heavy. They mapped out their plan, transformed the heaviness into a canvas of colorful possibilities, and managed to weave Greg's plans with their own creativity. "I can do the flyers," Sarah offered, her heart racing with a newfound sense of leadership. "We can create a social media campaign and post Lily's drawings leading up to the event." Jack added, "And I can reach out to local bands for live music. This could be a blast." Suddenly, the diner felt less like a battleground and more like a vibrant community. It was in the way people leaned into each other's ideas and forged ahead. Conversations flowed freely as they worked, and beneath the surface, Sarah caught glimpses of the connections blossoming. Greg's earlier hesitation seemed to fade, replaced by an eagerness to contribute. "I'll handle the sponsorships and local businesses. If we pull in enough support, we might just create something bigger than we imagined," Greg said, determination hardening his voice. "Yes." Lily cheered, her excitement a spark that ignited everyone around the table. "Can we call it the Heart of Mabel's?" Sarah smiled, her heart swelling with pride as she saw the joy radiate from them, the unbreakable bond of hope tugging them forward. Absolutely, sweetheart. It's time to show the community what we're made of. With renewed energy, they mapped out the following days. The walls of Mabel's diner were about to burst with vibrant colors from Lily's mural, and the air would fill with the melodies of laughter, stories, and families reuniting. As they rallied together, Greg stepped closer to Sarah and said softly, "Thanks for giving me a chance. I know I started this under false pretenses, but I promise, I'm with you all the way. Trust is everything, Greg. We'll see how far you're willing to go for us." "This is our home," she replied, her gaze steady. "It will be," he assured her, and in that moment, something shifted. They weren't just allies battling a common enemy, they were a family, bound together by the understanding that change was possible, even through the storm. Hours slipped by, laughter bubbled, and dreams stitched themselves back together under the warm glow of Mabel's diner. As Sarah stepped back, watching the unity around her, she knew they were on the verge of something transformative. Together, they would face what lay ahead, for family and community could weather any storm. With a heart full of conviction, she looked around at her makeshift family, their resilience glimmering brightly like stars illuminating the night sky. And with her heart alive and radiant with hope, she finally felt the answer to the question that had haunted her: they were going to be okay. Now, here's the thing: you need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us grow this community together.